Freedom in Iraq, President Bush has told us, is worth 3,800 American lives and some $500 billion and counting, because it will somehow magically prevent future terrorism. What then, in our fourth story tonight, is freedom worth in Pakistan, with the sixth largest population in the world, which borders Afghanistan, which harbors a resurgent Taliban and possibly even Osama bin Laden himself, whose military is ambivalent at best about bin Laden, openly sympathetic in some quarters, and, oh yes, unlike Iran, it already has nuclear weapons. On Saturday, Mr. Bush's close ally, Pervez Musharraf, imposed full-blown dictatorship on Pakistan, disbanding the Supreme Court, tossing political rivals in jail without trial, cutting phone lines, censoring the news. Mr. Bush responded forcefully that day. Well, Sunday. Okay, to be honest, today. And he denounced Musharraf in the strongest terms possible.
President Musharraf has been a strong fighter against extremists and radicals.
Take that. But if Mr. Bush does not consider Musharraf himself extremist or radical, that might explain the fact that Mr. Bush knew last week that General Musharraf was planning this, and as you might expect from a spreader of freedom, he did everything possible to stop it.
We made it clear to the president that we would hope he wouldn't have declared the emergency powers he declared.
Can't even believe that didn't work. Let's turn once again to Hillary Mann Leverett, the former National Security Council Director for Iran and Persian Gulf Affairs, who left the Bush administration last year. Great, thanks for coming back in tonight.
You're welcome.
In Pakistan, Mr. Bush says the best way to fight terrorism is to prop up a man who's now, at least for the moment, and certainly without any pretense here, a dictator. Everywhere else, it's freedom as a weapon of choice for this president. Can you reconcile what would look to the layman like a surface contradiction?
It is a surface contradiction. If only the president's policy, this administration's policy, was to prop up an effective, decisive dictator who could take charge against extremists and al-Qaeda on the western border areas of Pakistan, maybe we would have some improvement. We'd see some progress in the war on terror. But this administration has not only given only a surface, a very cursory stamp of approval and support to President Musharraf, but we have then sought to undermine him across the board. So we have neither propped up an effective dictator in a war on terrorism, nor have we presented or worked for an alternative to stabilize Pakistan, which is one of the most important countries in the war on terror, the second largest Muslim population in the world, and a country that does possess nuclear weapons.
So do we have a clear rooting interest as a nation, never mind as this administration here, in terms of counterterrorism? Do we need a stable Pakistan more than we need a democratic one? Is Musharraf trying to hold on to power? Does that take more away from that nation's effort against al-Qaeda, or would a fight between Musharraf and former President Bhutto be even worse in that regard? Where's the path through this for us?
Look, for 60 years, Pakistan has had some form of military dictatorship, and there has been some relative stability in Pakistan. What was particularly problematic is on the eve of 9/11 and in the immediate wake of 9/11, when we had to call upon that military dictatorship to take unpopular, decisive moves in the war on terrorism, we only gave him half-hearted support, and then we took our eye entirely off the ball of Pakistan and moved it to Iraq. It would be nice in a perfect world, in an ideal world, for Pakistan to be a perfectly democratic civilian country. But like so many countries around the world that are on the front lines in the war on terrorism, whether it's in Saudi Arabia, whether it's in Egypt, whether it's in Turkey, there are important priorities that have to be determined by this administration or any administration. And if you want to be serious in the war on terror, you can't push a president or the leader of a country to call elections tomorrow or next week. That is going to fundamentally undermine his ability to take unpopular decisions to fight terrorism.
The right here is fond of claiming that the left cheers for America to lose, but today the Washington Post was quoting an advisor to the Secretary of State, Dr. Rice, as saying, quote, "Thank heavens for small favors compared to Pakistan," quoting again, "Iraq looks pretty good." Is that the status of the neocon vision of the world right now, that if it looks better than Pakistan, it's okay?
It really is a pathetic pronouncement on the policies of the neocons, and in particular this administration. It's a mixture of an ideologically bankrupt movement combined with incompetence on an extraordinary level, that you would be comparing the situations in Iraq and Pakistan, incredibly serious situations where people are being killed and imprisoned and living under the threat of serious chaos, that they would be comparing the two policies of what's happening in Pakistan with what's happening in Iraq. Both show the very serious flaws that this administration has in its foreign policy, both in its ideology and its implementation.
Hillary Mann Leverett, the former National Security Director in the Bush administration, many thanks once again for your time tonight.
You're quite welcome.